facing head-on the emotions beneath the surface as we bridge from an old world of confusion and lack to a beautiful new world of freedom, abundance, and love with straightforward truth and inspired hope is what you'll find on The Charla Anderson Show. Collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating. Here's your host, Charla Anderson.
Well, good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people, and everyone is fascinating, especially you. So incredibly grateful that you would join us today. I've got an stunning guest, Staci Wright with HeartProfit. We're going to be introducing her in just a moment, but first we're going to get our little centering and our mini vacation, this little breathing exercise. And I would like to encourage you to join me in breathing in 7 seconds of calm and holding for 4 seconds, and then breathing out 11 seconds of gratitude. And it just helps us all. We should do it multiple times a day to get a little grounding here. So let's go with 7 seconds of calm. Here we go. Breathing in. Hold. Release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Gratitude. Whew. Thank you for joining me with that. And I just encourage you to do it more often. We all need to. We got too many devices, right? So I've got this incredible guest, Staci Wright with HeartProfit, and we met, I guess it was in February, I believe, at Krista Medlock, had the Girl Cave. You were a speaker, and I was just blown away by your concept of what you're doing in the world and how amazing you are creating this heart space in a workplace. And I'm so grateful for that, heartprofit.com, and we'll get into all the details. But Staci, thank you so much for joining me today. I fell in love with you. You spoke, and then you and several of the ladies I met that day came to my Win-Win Women event. And of course, I'm on Win-Win Women platform. We're directed, primarily towards women. And, we're just taking over the leadership, it seems like, in a lot of ways these days. And what you're doing blesses humanity in a huge way, and I'm so grateful. So let's talk about Staci, and tell me who you are in this world and a bit about what you do. We're just going to get to know each other a little bit better and have heartfelt conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much for doing what you do. It was really fun meeting you that day. You had a lot of energy, and I really thought, well, this is somebody I'd really like to get to know better. Then you had an event, we came to your event, and then we went to another event as a result of that. So it was just like 3 things right in a row. And I really appreciate what you're doing to help elevating people's voice and getting the word out about the good things that people are doing, because there's a lot of women doing a lot of really good things in the world. So thank you for doing what you're doing. So
thank you. Yeah. So who's Staci Wright?
I am an entrepreneur. I've actually had 6 businesses over the last 20 years. And I decided at this point in my life, I really want to make an impact on our social issues and really make a positive impact in the world with power and sustainability. How I got to that place was between business number 3 and business number 4. Business number 3 was a very successful product-based business. We grew a business with a patented product. We had the world's first and only welding helmet with a 180-degree lens design, built that up to a $5 million business. And it was fantastic. And we achieved all the things we wanted to achieve. And then we got hit with a lawsuit. And over the course of the next 10 years, it was a total loss in my life, a total come apart. So I lost everything from the business, my income, my husband, like all of the life that I had built was gone. And during that time, it was a time of very deep grief. It was a very hard time. And what I found thankfully, was that being of service to others allowed me not to be in so much pain myself and not to just be engulfed in the grief that I was dealing with. So I really threw myself into service. So I volunteered for a whole bunch of charities in my local area. And after a couple years of doing this, I started recognizing there were some big problems happening in the world. We had a fast growing population of people that needed mental health services. We had a fast growing population of people that were homeless, people that needed food. So this population of people in need was growing at a faster trajectory than the charities could keep up. And as an entrepreneur, I want to solve problems. So I'm looking at this saying, what's going on? What can we do? How can we fix this problem so that we're not facing extinction? Because it's not looking good, the trajectory that we're on. And at that point, I decided, businesses solve problems with power and sustainability. Why can't we bring that mechanism of problem solving to our social issues and really dive in and get to the bottom of it and fix these so that we can have a brighter future? And so that's what I set out to do. And so over the course of the following years after that, what has evolved is the HeartProfit, which is the movement that I'm leading today. And so that's kind of in a nutshell how I got here. But HeartProfit itself is a movement to solve the mental health crisis through workplace innovation. And so that's where we're at and where we're doing right now.
So I love that. I mean, so the distinction between it's a business, but it's your passion, and it's not your money-making business. It is your movement
Yes.
that is meshing with how you're doing your you've got a manufacturing plant, a facility, a brick and mortar workplace that
Yes.
and
Yeah. And that's how it started, was just me having my own business that was a manufacturing plant where we had care, compassion, and connection with our people. So mental health coaches as managers, people who understand brain science and stress and how that impacts our brain and how to help people versus writing them up and threatening them with their jobs. So actually creating and cultivating a community within the workplace that supports mental well-being, that nurtures people into mental well-being. So that's how it started. So it started with that. And as I was talking about this to other business owners, and this is the part that's really exciting to me, is as I was telling the story about how we're doing business differently and what we're trying to solve, people were coming alongside me as business owners saying, we want to do that too. We want to do business that way. This makes a lot of sense. And then all of a sudden the wheels started turning. And I thought, well, wait a minute, what if we could change all of our businesses to be like that and not just the one business that I'm building? And that's how HeartProfit evolved into what it is today, with a community of business owners and business leaders that want to bring care, compassion, and connection to the workplace.
It's fabulous. And to me, I said this decades and decades ago about churches, and if you don't meet the needs of the community, you will not grow.
Yes.
And I believe it about what you're doing here, the businesses. If you don't meet the needs of your workers, you will not grow. And of course, Zig Ziglar, legacy certified trainer, and they have this exact same passion of, find the needs of your people. What are their dreams? How can you lift them up? And if they grow in to get their dreams, they may leave, but I guarantee you they'll be loyal no matter what.
And they'll leave you better than they found you.
So the win-win, I love, win-win is a huge piece of my world. And so win-win, and you're looking to find I don't think we're going to go into, because I think there's reasons that their mental health has become such a crisis, right? So there's reasons behind it, but offering solutions is critical.
Yes.
Critical.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex issue, and I am not qualified to speak as to why we're having a mental health crisis. What I'm focused on is, how can we stop this? How can we turn it around? How can we change it going forward? And what I see as the answer is our heart, bringing our heart into business practices, into the workplace. And when we do that, it helps people along. And I'll give you an example. I had an employee that had, he was having a hard time focusing at work. Now, 10 years ago, it would have been the actions I would have taken was have a sit down meeting, tell him, look, this is not okay. You need to start paying attention. You need to get your work done. You need to focus. And if you don't, you're going to get written up, right? It was more of a threat, more of a command and control. Today, the conversation went much differently. It was sitting down with him going, okay, clearly the smart part of his brain is not functioning right now. What's going on to cause that? Because that is can be caused by stress. And that was my guess, or my intuition was that it was stress. Something was going on. So I sat him down. I said, hey, buddy, what's going on? Like, what has you stressed? What is your stressors? What's going on? And he, through the conversation, I found out that he was a single dad and his car was breaking and he didn't have family. And so if he couldn't get to work, he couldn't support his kids. It was just this whole big stressor, and he didn't have the money that it was going to take to fix his car. And so he was trying to overcome this challenge by himself and didn't have the resources to do so. And so it was, and I connected him with an organization that I knew of that helped people in crisis like that. And within 3 days, his car was fixed and he was back on the road and back at work, and things were so much better. And so I solved the problem, because the problem wasn't his lack of focus. That was the symptom of a deeper underlying problem. And so by solving the problem, we averted so many other issues that could have been, he could have been late for work. He could have not been able to show up for work. Like all of the problems that can come from having a car that doesn't work consistently would have been more problems for the business, right? So that,
And not just for him, it was a win-win. He got help, but you got your employee back in prime condition, right?
Exactly. And so if we all as leaders took that approach and understood brain science and understood why people do what they do, we can actually help avert a lot of the problems that we're facing and help our people thrive in the world. So in today's world, we're all living under tremendous stress, and it does impact our brain. It does impact how our brain functions. And so I just think it's key for employers and business owners and leaders to understand that, so that they can help people through this crisis that we're all in. We're all in this together.
Exactly. And so I'm wondering, there's a lot of old school, these old big industry leader businesses, corporations that are, I feel like they're like dump trucks rather than speed trains, right? They don't innovate necessarily very quickly and to find the right person to get some of these ideas going. And I think perhaps they don't care. Some of them, many of them.
No.
Is that
Well,
the case?
in the mentality of business, I mean, I've been in business for 20 years. And what I learned, this is how we do business. So in the society we lived in, or that we've been living in, the whole model of a successful business was profit at all costs, people are expendable. And so we were taught, keep your employees at a distance, at a professional distance. Do not get emotionally connected. Don't get involved with your employees, because profit is what's most important and people are expendable, and you may have to expend some people to succeed. That's what we were taught. So it's I don't know where it came from or how it came about, but that's what we were taught. And now we're moving, thank God, moving into a more compassionate era of life in general. The world is evolving, and we're seeing business owners coming saying, just like they came alongside me and said, we want to do this too. And so we had a whole lot of business owners to say, yes, we love the idea of doing business from the heart. It aligns with who we are, especially women. It comes very natural. That other way of doing business didn't ever feel good to me. Now this feels good. But what we're finding is that performance is falling. So as we're bringing in more compassion and care and connection, we're losing a little bit of that drive and that high standard or high expectation, and people their performance is falling. And so sometimes, it's kind of like the pendulum is swinging. We've got to figure out a way to combine both the profit and the compassion together. And so part of HeartProfit's mission is to educate business owners and business leaders in how to practically do care, compassion, and connection in the workplace and maintain high standards and high performance so that you can have the sustainability that you need. So that is one of the pillars of HeartProfit is education and teaching business owners how to do that. And there's definitely skill sets that you can learn and develop that allow you to beautifully have both living under the same roof. It doesn't have to be exclusive anymore. So that's one of the ways that we're making an impact.
Well, so you got a new business and they've been going along and everybody's mad at each other or whatever it is,
Yeah.
where do you start? I mean, how do you, all of a sudden, now we got to hire people that have brain, what do you call it? The brain, I want to say brain tab, the brain, the information,
The knowledge, the
the
skill
brain
set.
knowledge, the skill set. The people you said were hiring as managers do have some of that. It's not counselors, it's not
Right.
therapists, it's people that have a bit of
It's the neuroscience.
neuroscience. That's the word I think I
Understanding
was
the
missing.
neuroscience.
Yes.
Yes,
And
yes,
I love that there's so much going on around all that. I've been
yes.
on this, I'm a sponge for a lot of that information. But you got to start somewhere. And so you've been running your business all along, and it's kind of like by hit or my miss a lot of times, I'm sure, restaurants, whatever it is, that, the turnover in restaurants is really
Yeah,
big, right? So
yeah.
perhaps, what would happen if they had a little bit more care and compassion and understanding of what's really going on in our world?
Yeah, they could create different environments and different
And where do they
workplaces.
start with that? How would you start? A business that you've run across that all of a sudden, like, this is what's missing. Where do they start? Do they, and you do a certification, right? So
We do. We
maybe
do
it's
a
there. Maybe
certification.
it's there.
Yes, I would say join the community. Join a community of like-minded people because we're all learning this together. We're all moving into this evolution together and we're learning as we go. So I think community is so important, and HeartProfit is a community. Join a community like HeartProfit and start learning these skill sets and taking in this information so that you are better equipped to bring the heart into the business. So yes, I would say definitely join HeartProfit. Of course, that's a shameless plug, but it definitely is. 100% of the people that are members of the HeartProfit community have brought compassion to their business because it comes naturally, but they've had the shift has caused employees to take advantage of them, has caused a feeling of entitlement in the employees. So they're bringing the heart, and now all of a sudden everything's shifted. There's other skills and other tools that you can bring in to help balance that out so that you're not suffering alone in trying to be compassionate. Because like, for example, we had a woman come to our certification and she said, I want to be compassionate. I had an employee that was having, her car was about to be, what do they call it when they take it back? Repossessed. Her car was fixing to be repossessed. And so she said, well, here, I'll help you and I will front you the money so that you don't lose your car and you can just pay it back over time, over the next few paychecks. And the employee was very thankful and very grateful. And so that they did that. But then the employee quit before the money was paid back. And so the employer felt like, God, that was just a slap in the face. But part of me wants to shut down and not do that anymore. But then there's another part of me that doesn't want to do that. But where's the balance? Because, now we're just getting taken advantage of. So that's just one example. Another example was a business owner decided that she was going to do something nice for the employees. And she asked them, what are some things that y'all would like? And they responded, I guess, in a survey that they would love to have snacks provided in the break room. And she thought, well, that's an easy way for me to show love to my employees. I love food. Food is important to me. So she stocked the break room with snacks. And a year later, the employees came back and said, oh, you know what? can we just make more money? Can you just pay us? Like, quit buying snacks and pay us more money. And so it was almost like this feeling of entitlement, and they were wanting to ask for more. And so she just felt like it doesn't feel good anymore. And so those are the kind of things that we're finding as we start to open up to this heart-based way of doing business, and how things are changing. Now, it's not the employee's fault. It's human nature to do those things. So there's some things that you can put in place that will help you develop the culture of care both ways and respect both ways. So it's not just one way. You can actually cultivate that so it's coming from them to you and from you to them. And it's very synergistic and symbiotic.
I think that's critical. I mean, it's the my, you know, my mama said, leave the world a better place. And take the high road. And when it's doesn't feel right, or take the high road. I mean, take the higher road. I mean, it's one of those, when you have that mindset, those losses, oh, well, you know, I mean, I don't mean it in a flippant way. I mean, it's, you can't sustain those kinds of losses. But if you, and this is an example, my mama said, you know, and I talked to my sister, I'm at my sister's in Tennessee right now. And I was like, you know, Mom, she said, our job is to give. It's not to judge. So if you feel led to give to the homeless person and somebody says, well, they're just going to go whatever, if you're led to do it, then it's up to you to do it, and it's not up to you to judge. So I kind of feel like all of those are pieces of this puzzle that you're trying to create here. And I feel like it's so in line with everything I believe that corporations, I mean, back in the day, Delta Airlines, we bought an airplane for the company when they were going through really tough times. The employees pulled together, and I think I was on maternity leave at the time, but it was coming out of my paycheck because I said, yes, we're going to help. And we had the Spirit of Delta's airplane that the employees purchased for the company when they were going through stuff. And at the time, I started in the early 70s with Delta Airlines. And at the time, it was like they worked for us, we worked for them. We never became unionized because we're all in this together. It's not us against them. And when you can pull that out, that's a huge benefit. And we were so loyal. My former husband worked for Delta 37 years, never called in sick in 37 years. Amazing human being and loyal to a fault, right? So I just feel like there was so many of us with Delta. I was 34 years, right? So that was an example of the way to do that in the old days. We had this, you know, it wasn't us against them. It was, we're in this together. How can we, if we don't make a profit, you're not going to win either.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And somewhere along the way, we lost that. And it became more about the profit, and more about the profit, and more about the profit, and less and less and less about taking care of your people.
And more about the shareholders. So to me, I mean, these are human beings out here too. And if you're taking advantage and running the company in the ground for more profit, you know, you're the golden egg dies, you know. So
exactly. Yes.
So I just am thrilled with the concept. And how are you getting the word out? Where are people finding, how do people find HeartProfit? And how do people, and let's just spell your name, because it's Staci Renee Wright, but it's all three words could be spelled in multiple ways, right?
Yes.
So it's on podcast. Most people listen on podcast rather than the video. So STACI RENEE WRIGHT, the CEO of heartprofit.com.
Yes. And if they go to Staci Renee CEO, that's my handle on all the different platforms.
Well, and you know, so it's important to spell it correctly. So that's where we are in this world. So you have so that's where they find you. And how do businesses find you? How's this word of mouth, or are you getting out? How are you sharing this
We have
information?
been a grassroots movement for the last few years. So we have meetings monthly, local meetings. We have a meeting in Sherman once a month. We have a meeting in Dallas once a month and in Frisco once a month. We also do an online meeting. Our word of mouth is how we're getting it out right now. We are working on some marketing campaigns to move it out further. We're getting ready to launch, and this is what I'm super, super excited about. This is brand new. We're launching a business accelerator program. And so we want to accelerate and proliferate this way of doing business into the world. And one of the ways that we're going to do this, or that we're working on this, is through young entrepreneurs, young business owners. So we're going into pitch competitions. So these are entrepreneurs that have an idea that they're pitching to the judges or the investors. We're going into those competitions and we're inserting the HeartProfit tenets and that education into these young entrepreneurs. So we're teaching them, hey, this is how you want to do business. This is the HeartProfit way of doing business. And if you incorporate this into your business plan, at the pitch competition, we have prize money for them. And so we're helping to proliferate the young heart-minded or heart-based entrepreneurs into the world through the acceleration program. And so that is a crowd-funded platform. So we're actually recruiting 100,000, we call it 100,000 who care. So we're looking for 100,000 people across the globe to give $5 a month. And that $5 a month from 100,000 people, that's $500,000 a month that we can funnel to these young, new entrepreneurial ventures that are heart-based and that are solving social problems in the world by the way that they're doing business. So we're there. Heartprofit.co is our main website. So people can find us there, and there's different ways to participate in different levels. So it starts at $5 a month and goes all the way up to $200 a month, depending on how you want to be involved. We also do accept tax deductible donations. So we have that vehicle if people want to give in that way. So there's multiple ways that people can give, but the main way they can find us is through my social media pages and on heartprofit.co, and that's CO. HeartProfit is one word.
So you are primarily local. I mean, DFW area is where you are based. Are you finding these entrepreneurs locally or
Yes,
primarily locally?
because we are grassroots, it is starting here and it's spreading out. We do see this as a global movement, and we are setting up all of our certification courses online as well. So right now it is more local, and we are looking to expand globally.
And you have a team. I mean, obviously you've got a manufacturing plant in the north of DFW, right? So you've got a
Yes.
physical, hands-on
Yes.
brick and mortar. So you've got people that you've already got working like this. How do they find you? And I think I heard that you have a waiting list for people wanting to work for you because
Yes.
of you've got daycare centers in there. You've got mental health
Yes. Managers.
experts and snacks. I'm sure you have snacks, and I'm sure
Yes.
you have things that make
Food
that encourage people to want to stay working there, but giving them the tools
Yes.
to progress and grow, and you, I'm assuming, assess their skills along the way. I'm talking about your personal manufacturing plant business that people want to come to work there because of all of those benefits.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I first started conceptualizing what I wanted to do with the manufacturing plant, I was looking at the stress levels and how we can turn things around. And what I was thinking was, if we can get to the kids, we can turn things around quicker than the adults. It's easier to mold the kids and to help the kids have mental well-being rather than fix a broken adult. So part of the concept that I had was to have daycare on site for the employees' kids. So this does a couple things. One is it gives us access to the kids where we can make sure they're getting their needs met, make sure that they have what they need for proper brain development and the wisdom that they need and the knowledge they need to properly function. And the second thing is it takes a load of stress off the parents of the children. And so children who are bathed in a constant sea of stress are not developing properly. Their brains are not developing properly. So if we can lighten the load for the parents, it's going to help the kids in the long run. So that was the concept behind why we have daycare on site in our plant here. So that was one of the things we were thinking with that. And then the food was to make sure that everybody had the proper nutrients that they needed for brain development and brain functioning. So that was a natural next step of creating a world of thriving individuals. And so those were just part of the things. And then having managers who understand neuroscience, who understand how the brain functions when there's stress, and who understands what people need in order to thrive, and can create a pathway for people to learn what they need to learn. So financial literacy is something that a lot of people don't get in school. Emotional intelligence, that's something that's relatively new. Brain science, there's a lot that has happened in the last 10 years that we didn't have before. So helping people learn these things and grow along their own personal journey into being a thriving member of the community who is serving others and giving back. That's what we want to create. So we really want to create those individuals through our workplace. So it's like we create pathways for people to become the best versions of themselves.
That's great. And I'm assuming you have break areas that are unique, or maybe have I don't know, exercise equipment or things that they may want to do on their break time.
That's a great idea. I mean, right now we're relatively new. We started in 2020, so we're still in the scaling phase. But some of the things that we have that are different is we do have a room set up for like group therapy, like and we haven't done this actually, haven't had it come to fruition, but my vision is to have a room where on Wednesday afternoon we're having group therapy, because we all have trauma and we all have to overcome it, and we can do it better as a group than we can individually. And so having rapid transformational therapies available in the group room on a regular basis for the employees, so that they can start healing those traumas that are keeping them, it's that unconscious mind that keeps sabotaging them over and over and over. We all have it. The voice that says we're not worthy, we're not enough, or, we got to do more, we got to prove ourselves. So we all have those things. That is a human condition, especially in the world we live in today. So we're creating a room where we can just start unloading those things and transforming those things rapidly.
That's amazing. And so where
So I
are
have
you
less,
finding
I don't have a lot of like ping pong tables and video games. Like I don't have those kind of things. That we were more about like, let's get people into a mentally well state.
And then they start knowing each other better, right? So there's
Yes.
another, you start creating community and friendships and in the
Exactly.
workplace, and then they get to, you're in a small community, so they get to perhaps go, be on the same softball team or whatever afterwards. So there's a lot of components to it. And you just mentioned that you started in 2020, and congratulations.
Thank
A
you.
lot of things changed that year. So, and
Yes.
you're part of that cutting edge of the new world that we want to live in. And I was taught, I have I feel like there's a 3D world. We're moving to a 5D world, and it's more about heart. And the quote that you spoke and put into your notes that I've heard you say before, I think it's so true. I love it. So what's that? Do you have the quote in?
Yes, it's Manoush Shafiq, who was the director of the London School of Economics. And she says that jobs of the past were about muscles. Jobs of today are about brains, but jobs of the future are going to be about the heart.
That gives me chills. I mean, I just feel it. I feel it. And I believe the tipping point of good versus evil. We've
Yes.
way past the good side. And
Yes.
if you just watch the news, you may not feel that.
Right.
But if you're out in the world and looking at how much good goes on, my sister, that I had one sister pass away in January, and the community was incredible. And then my sister here in Tennessee, the community has been unbelievable. And when people pull together to support and bring food and just whatever it takes to to make it help me through.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have felt kind of isolated.
Well, I
And
was
a
at
lot
a,
of people aren't going, going to churches as much as, and
yes,
that was the one community thing we had, right? So,
yes. No, I went to a conference and it was actually it was not a conference, it was a brainstorming session, and there was like 80 people there from every different facet of the community. So we had police officers, we had teachers, we had mental health professionals, we had business owners, we had I mean, just every angle that approaches the community was represented at this meeting. And they were trying to create ways of overcoming this mental health crisis that we're in. And what they said at the very beginning, they said one of the key drivers of the mental health crisis is the culture of independence that we've developed. The culture of
yeah.
extreme
Mm.
independence. And what you just said is that hard times happen to all of us. But when you have somebody coming and saying, here's a casserole, like what, here, let me just bring you food. That means so much. It lightens the burden for some reason. It doesn't make sense logically, but when other people come alongside and just give you a hug, just bring you a meal, take your dog for a walk, whatever it is, they say, what can I do to lighten your load while you deal with this? It does make it lighter. And we've lost that. We have
Hmm.
lost that in a lot of our communities. And we have this hyper and extreme independence, which I'm guilty of it. And it does create stress, more strife than it is when we have a community around us. So community is a huge piece of mental
And
well-being.
yeah, so, and my sister here, she's got a neighbor that they just, not how can I help? Because sometimes you don't have
Yes.
you don't know I don't know where to start. Oh, I'm fine. Or perhaps change the words to, let me walk your dog, and I'll
Yes.
walk your dog 4 times a day, and they just
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
Or, or let me, this is a story I heard when I was little, and I'm 70, so it was a long time ago, but there was someone that just showed up after a funeral. Someone had died, and they just showed up to polish the shoes. Just let
Mm.
me polish your shoes. And such a small thing that back in the day, I remember when we polished those little baby walking shoes that were white, and I
Mhm.
remember that. And to have somebody just show up and say, I'll just wash your dishes. Let me just,
Yes.
wipe your sink,
Yes.
whatever it is, and actually offer something I think could be a verbiage shift, instead of
Mhm.
what I'll pray for you. Or
Yes.
which is fine. We want prayers, but
Absolutely.
prayers with skin on, right? Something with
Yeah.
skin on, somebody that literally can,
Mhm.
oh, let me take the trash out. It looks to, let me get this trash can out to the street for
Yeah.
you. Whatever it
Absolutely.
is, and just love each other, just love, love, love. And the harder people are to love, the more they need it, but just love one another, and remove the fear, so to speak. If we start releasing the fear of being taken advantage of, or
Mhm.
being or what, kind of being, when you take somebody, you don't want to ask people, you don't want to
Yeah.
inconvenience people. That, I think, is what I'm
Impose.
saying. Imposing, that's the word I was looking for
Mhm.
too. You don't want to impose, but what if somebody, and it is, we're all so busy, everybody's busy,
Yeah.
but a lot of our busyness may not be productive busyness sometimes, right? It could be
Oh,
just
yeah, for sure.
we got a remote or a screen, and maybe if we shut those down and had just a little bit more community involvement,
Mm.
we will we will on a bigger scale start, lifting each other up.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I agree with everything you're saying.
So, I've been witnessing it, and
Mhm.
up close and personal, whatever I said,
Yes. Yes.
and of she's in a small town, and my sister that
Mhm.
passed was in a small town. I'm not in a small town. I don't really feel, like, I don't, something happened to me, I have no idea who might show up, right, to the
Yeah.
rescue, because I've left I've not been as involved in the community as I used to be, and as I probably will in the future as things have started settling down again for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
But it's critical. And I mean, you put it with, I say with skin on, you put boots on the ground. You personally have taken on a, I'm assuming a homeless person that you've
Yes.
ran across and felt, you know, a human
Yeah.
being that needs somebody, and you've
Yeah.
adopted her.
Yes, I did. I did. I adopted a 65-year-old homeless woman who is she's special needs, so she needs a little help. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul, but just needed somebody to look out for her because the world we live in has not been kind to her, and they've taken advantage of her. And so she was homeless because, well, I'll tell the story. We don't want to get off on too much of a tangent, but she was homeless because she had given her money, because she has disability. She'd given her money to a friend who was in a wheelchair who was about to be evicted. And so her thinking was, she needs it more than I do. I'll keep her housed and I'll go sleep in the woods for a couple weeks until my next check comes. So those are the kind of, I mean, she's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul that would give obviously the shirt off of her back. And she just needed somebody to make sure she wasn't hurting herself. Right. But yes. So I've invited that into my home, and it's been an experience for sure. But she's a beautiful
That's a
person, and
lot.
we're all struggling. None of us have it figured out. Life is complex. Life can turn on a dime. There's so many different facets to this thing that we call being human that none of us have it figured out. And if we think we do, just wait a few months, because
Right.
right, you'll be shown that you don't.
Do you
And
remember
so,
the story about the starfish? The little guy walking
yeah,
on the beach just throwing thousands of starfish, and somebody said, "There's so many, what are you going to do?" And he says, "Well, it matters to this one, right? The one that
yes,
gets thrown back. You can't do it
yes,
all, but you can do something."
yes,
And
yes.
I love that story too, because there's millions of homeless people. You could have chosen somebody else, but
Mhm.
she chose you, probably, I'm going to
Yes,
say. And she
I
chose
would
you.
say that's probably what happened. Yes.
So yeah, so our mindset, um, I mean, this concept, and when I heard you speak at that event about this, I was on front row, if I'm not mistaken, just going,
Yes,
oh
you
my
were.
gosh,
Yeah.
this is exactly what I feel is needed in our world, is just start
Mhm.
having, I mean, we got to go to work, we got to make a living.
Yeah. And we
What if
spend a lot of time there.
we spent a lot of time there, and what if we did it for people who cared, you know?
Yes. Yes. What a difference it would make.
And I'm so grateful that that's what your passion is and has become.
Yes.
And you have the spirit, the sweetness, and the compassion that,
Mhm.
obviously shows. And it breaks my heart that, you had such a successful business before. It sounded like such an amazing thing. And we're in
Mhm.
a litigious society that you mentioned the word entitlement. We think we are owed something,
Mhm.
whereas, we're just all of us just trying to get through the best we can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what's next? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Who sponsored this 80-person group that you were involved with? Who was the sponsor of that initiative?
Which
Was it a city? You were talking about when you had 80 people get together as a think tank.
Yes. That was actually the Texoma Health Foundation. So it's a health foundation here locally. And they got a grant, a large grant from Mackenzie Scott. Thank you very much, Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. And they wanted to impact the mental health of our community. And so they have that money set aside. They hired a team to do a survey and to gather information of what are all the different aspects of the mental health of our community, and what are all the challenges, and what are solutions that all the people have. And then they're synthesizing that into the best way to use this $6 million to really impact with sustainability the mental health crisis we're facing. So it was the Texoma Health Foundation locally that put that together.
That's incredible. And were you able to speak? How many of those people heard your version?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
were.
mean, that's a huge thing.
Well, every time I opened my mouth, it was HeartProfit. It was from every angle, and so they divided us up into small groups. So we kept going. There was 5 different stations, 5 different topics, and so our group would go to one topic, and we talk to that facilitator, and then we go to the next one and talk to that facilitator. So from every angle, I shared the HeartProfit vision with every single one of them. I don't know if anybody heard it. There was a lot of people there, but I did my best.
Yeah, so I was wondering what if, and another question I had for you is, who is sponsoring the pitch parties that you're talking about for the young entrepreneurs? Is that you guys, or is that you're collaborating with someone else?
We are collaborating currently with other pitch competition holders. So there's actually a group in Dallas, 3-in-1 Trinity, and she's a beautiful woman. Oh, you need to interview her. She's amazing. But she does this entrepreneur class, and she'll take the entrepreneurs through a 9-month course where they learn how to do business, how to create their LLC, and what all the things that they need in order to create a business. And then she does a pitch competition at the end, and they give prizes. So they raise money with like banks and different community players come and donate money. And so we're teaming up with her. She's the first one we're doing, and her next pitch competition is in January in Dallas. And so our crowdfunding mechanism, where the 100,000 who care that are on the monthly subscriptions, we're going to live stream the pitch competition into the community, and the people that are the 100,000 who care get to vote on where the money goes. So it's an interactive, fun way to proliferate and to expand and to influence the future of business.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yes.
And are you familiar with 1,000,000 Cups?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, is
Yes.
that
I haven't
something?
been to one of their meetings, but I'm definitely
I know
signed
the
up to
I
go to
know the
one.
founder. I had yeah, Cameron, I don't remember his last name right now, but he was a guest. I had a TV show back in 2018,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he was a guest on my show there, and
Oh wow.
amazing human being. So the people that I'm thinking of, that, 1,000,000 Cups
Yes,
is
I
a
would
great one,
love
and
to
they're always
collaborate
looking
with
for
them.
speakers, I think. And then the Ziegler Corporation, which does, has their version of, education and all that, but it's heart centered and
Yes.
working with the people.
We are looking to collaborate. So any of those organizations that want to bring these principles to their organization for young entrepreneurs, we want to support that. We want to collaborate with that. So definitely, if there's anybody out there listening that has connections with those, or if you want to connect us with something like that, we would love to be connecting and collaborating, because we're all about win-win, and the more we work together with other organizations, the more we
Well,
get
it's
it out there.
exponential, right? So
Yeah,
then, their people get to hear. So
exactly.
the third one I've been thinking about, I know the founder of Independent Stock Market, ISM,
Okay.
and I was very involved and instrumental in some of the things. They actually did a pitch party on a TV show with we did a whole big old production in the
Oh,
stockyards, and
wow.
I wouldn't let them come to Dallas. I wanted them in Fort Worth. So, but they in Utah. But an independent stock market where you get funded, and the stock market, the founder Aaron Brandley, um, he, as a financial guy, he would build his people, get his businesses going, and get them on the stock exchange. And he kept witnessing this pump and dump.
Mm,
In the stock market, they're doing good. They got all this stuff. Their stock's going up, and then the principal or the stockholders would somehow or another, they'd lose their businesses because of less than ethical practices, perhaps
mhm.
in certain scenarios. But anyway,
Yeah.
he found a way around it, and he's got an independent stock market, and they do pitch parties, and they do a lot of things like that. And I haven't been in touch with them in a while, but those three collaborations, I think, would be
Yes.
great, at least as an introduction, whether
Yeah.
then it's up to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Absolutely. I would
yeah,
love those introductions.
and so we're all doing all we know to do and all we can do. And
Mhm.
all my mama said, all you can do is all you can do, and it's all a mule can do. And I'm like, sometimes it doesn't ever feel like enough. So many of us, we've got so much we want to give. We're servers, we're
Right.
givers. We want to share. And, our time is just finite right now. So, not just right now.
Yeah.
It's limited, what we can do.
Yes.
So,
That's why
Staci,
collaborations are wonderful.
oh, absolutely. I love you so much. I cannot wait for our gathering, the gathering we
Yes.
had on March 1st, that little community. I got so distracted and have kind of lost my connection with a lot of folks, but there's so much good in this world. There's so many
Mhm.
people doing all they can do. And there's 8 billion people is a lot of people. And so
Yes.
there's never, we're not going to run out of people
Right.
to help. So it's,
Exactly.
they keep showing up, so,
Right.
and sometimes we're the one that needs the help. So thank you for your incredible gifts, your time,
Thank you.
your spirit, your I just love you. And I don't want to, I had Gail Blair on because of you a couple of
Yes.
weeks ago. She was my guest, and oh my gosh, she's got the same kind of heart, the concept. I've had Alan Mikolai just recently. I run it, most of the people on my show, I guess I get to collect and connect all these
Yeah.
people that I just know have the heart
Mhm.
centered, or the hot profit um,
Mhm.
concepts inside of them,
Yes.
and
It is the
spreading the
future.
word.
It is
Mhm.
the future. And Heart Profit is a bridge, right? It's a bridge to help get us there to where we're going, but it's coming. The
Okay,
compassionate era is upon us.
so if I'm a business and I want to become accredited in this
Mhm.
in you with you,
Yes.
we go into
Co.
heartprofit.co.
Yes.
And does heartprofit.com, do they integrate, or is it two separate sites?
Heartprofit.com is not our site. So somebody got that way back when, and I've been trying to buy it from them, but I haven't been able to get a hold of them. So if you're out there, I want heartprofit.com.
Uh, right, I don't blame you. And so, but that is, you might have as disclaimer, because a lot of people are not gonna catch that it's not
Yeah.
com and it's co. So just, I know in the tech world, we're buying and selling domains and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, ew, I just did some of that today.
Yes.
So working on
Yes.
that. Well, you are precious to me, and we're going to regroup. I did get to go to one of your monthly things
Yes.
a few months ago, and meet Gail and the amazing, beautiful soul that she is, and she
Mhm.
does food. She probably helps
Yes.
with your the chef, the intuitive chef,
Mhm.
the intuitive healing. Oh my gosh, I just fell in
Yes.
love with her.
Yes.
So
She's amazing.
it's super
Absolutely
helpful.
amazing. Mhm.
So I guess we're just gonna this Charla Anderson show, collector and connector, fascinating people, and everybody's fascinating. It's live every Wednesday, at 1 to 2 Central Time, and we can come on and actually have when the way When Women has it set up, we can actually have guests that come in and contribute and ask questions after the first 20 or 30 minutes. And so that's I'm looking forward to starting building that up a little bit and getting more
Yeah.
live viewers and live interaction, because it's
Yeah.
fun. We love to
Yes.
talk, right?
And I would love for you to come back to another event. We have been drawing such a tremendous crowd of people that are just like-minded, heart-based leaders that are doing big things. So it's a good place for you to come hang out on a regular basis when you're back in town. So definitely come and connect with us.
I hope then getting back in town and starting to figure out what I've been missing for the last 4 months,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Bless your heart.
yeah, you just step back, or maybe 6 months, I really think, but you step back and just, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. Sometimes he makes you lie down, or
Yeah.
in green pastures, or whatever all of that is. So thank
Yes.
you so much, Brett, and my precious, precious friend, Staci.
Thank
Let's
you.
let's do it again sometime. And yeah, I'll be back to hang out sometime
Love
soon.
it. Love it. Yeah.
Love you so much. And remember, for all, I always end up by saying, listen, just always remember to choose joy.
Parting is such sweet sorrow. The Charla Anderson Show, encouraging you to stand strong and courageous with bold faith, no fear, immense hope, kindness, and love, especially towards yourself. Visit charlaanderson.com for replays, blogs, and more on her ever-expanding website, as well as watch her live TV show on winwinwomen.tv, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And so that we can continue learning together and growing this community of beautiful souls, we invite you to share the Charla Anderson Show with your circle of friends. Until we meet again next week, remember always, choose joy.